Regardless of if we want to believe it or not, the Arizona Cardinals are most likely to be in a holding pattern for the remainder of the season. What does that mean, though? Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast platform on the planet. It just continues to be unbelievable. Got a lot to talk about today. Nick Rallis, is he getting a pass for this year? Relax. We'll have a conversation about it. Okay, it's not rhetorical. Is Trey Benson the key to the flow of this offense with his imminent return you'd expect? I think the answer is yes, and I'll talk about that in the second segment. But the Cardinals are in a holding pattern for the rest of the season, and I'll tell you what that means. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So the last thing people want is lethargy as pertaining to moves made when production hasn't been what you've wanted it to be or really not anywhere close. And I'm speaking primarily about the coaches. I don't see a world where anybody gets fired this year. And I think it's the right call. Should Drew Petzing be OC for the Cardinals in 2026? It's probably a no, but I'm still in the TBD camp. Should Jonathan Gannon be head coach in 2026? I'm leaning yes, but I could see the case for TBD, obviously with the wins and losses and how the Cardinals have fallen flat on their face for a large portion of this season and got to have it plays that they just never had. And finally, should there be any sort of credence held towards who should be the quarterback moving forward for the Cardinals? No. I think it's time. And I think that it's, regardless of if you think Kyler Murray is going to pop off in year 8, it's looked bad when he was quarterback, and he's the reason why the offense isn't as efficient now. Okay, that's cool. You can think what you'd like. I just choose to disagree because I use my eyes. I see what's happening. The offense doesn't look great, but at least the playmakers are getting the ball with far more frequency than the first 5 weeks of the season. Is Jacoby Brissett the long-term answer? Probably not. Could he be the answer for 2026? Yeah. But the holding pattern is primarily surrounding the coaching staff. And this is where the most potent point of contention has been ever since the wheels fell off. It's like, we got to fire somebody. And while I completely understand the merit and the rational thinking behind that, I think it's a fool's errand in the same breath. And both can be true simultaneously. Where traditionally, you fire somebody midseason because somebody's got to go, because that's the way the world works. I would tend to push back and say, why? Well, they deserve to lose their job. That may be true. Drew Petzing specifically. But what is firing somebody midseason going to do that letting him or not re-upping his contract at the end of the year won't? Well, it'll send a message. Okay. What message would that be? You got to produce to keep your job. I don't think sending a message mid-season is any more effective than letting him walk at the end of the year. And on top of that, he's still coaching for a job with the Cardinals and potentially another suitor. And what I've seen with Jacoby Brissett, even though they've lost games, is an offense that has far more potential than what we saw in the first 5 weeks against far more difficult opponents. And it's not perfect. It's probably not good. It's probably average. Just muddled with the fact that they can't run the ball and they can't pass protect, especially on the right side of the line. But the holding pattern, I agree with. It's not like a hold on for dear life and hope. It's acknowledgement of failure, and you're just going to ride it out. It's not a loser mentality. I think it's a very astute and mature way to deal with the situation many didn't think the Cardinals would be in. It's not laying down. It's not being passive. It's not being aloof. It's technically being in control of your surroundings and being in control of the dysfunction. And this dysfunction is not defined the same as the historical dysfunction of this organization. So while we're speaking in more philosophical terms now, like theoreticals, that doesn't mean it's not rooted in exactly what we're experiencing. This is I can't call this team a bad team. Talent-wise, they're not. Injuries have killed them, but that's not an excuse. Poor timed execution gaffes have been around, but they've had multiple big-time fourth down stops that gives the offense a chance to win games, like they did in San Francisco when they couldn't execute, like they did to save the game and give them a chance to win the game against Jacksonville. Bad teams would get a neutral zone infraction on a hard count, and the game would end in victory formation for the other team. There's good here. And I think harnessing and maybe harnessing is not the right word. Keeping that in a controlled environment until the offseason is paramount. What does that even mean? Everybody go about your day the same. Everybody knows they're not making the playoffs. Everybody knows this was a massively missed opportunity. Everybody knows there's been injuries. Everybody knows there's been a lot of downs. They've shown some promise with key players for the future. And you just hold serve, you ride out the next few weeks, and then you make your changes. Because at this point, it doesn't serve anything. It doesn't help anything. Well, somebody deserves to lose their job for the coaching that they've done. It's been 3 losing seasons in a row. Yeah. That's a very, very insightful and rational way to look at these things. You wait till the end of the year. Why? That's what losing organization. No. This has nothing to do with functionality or dysfunctionality. The Cardinals are plenty dysfunctional on their own. I mean, just look at the ivory tower with who's signing the checks. But this, even though it looks backwards, and even though it looks like you're punting on the confrontation of removing somebody from their post, it's actually the mature way to go about things. It's actually the mature way to do it. So we'll see about Jonathan Gannon. I'm sure when Michael Bidwell said that it fully stands behind Jonathan Gannon, I think this isn't one of those vote of confidence things. I thought that initially, and when JG went on local radio and said that, that he has 1,000 whatever, 1,000 times 10 or whatever it was, 100% times 1,000 backing by ownership, I believe it. I think Michael Bidwell just saw, hey, a lot of injuries. Yeah, wasn't great, but this wasn't like the Cardinals were healthy all year and they won 4 games. You're on your backup quarterback. You're on your backup right tackle. You're on your 4th running back. Your wide receivers, 1 has been out. There's a lot of things that went against the Cardinals this year, and those aren't excuses. Those are factual things that happened. So holding serve, in my eyes, is the mature and best way to go about things until the end of the season, and then you make your decisions then. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Does Trey Benson yield the skeleton key to show what this offense could look like with an actual run game? We'll discuss it next. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back full swing. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything but who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps getting more and more exciting, and FanDuel helps with that, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Excuse me? FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked In Arizona Cardinals, hit that subscribe button, man. #1 sports podcast platform. #1 sports podcast platform. Honored to be a part of it every day. If you'd like to join the Insider program, links in the description. I love texting with fans and listeners and viewers, and people have differing opinions. It's a beautiful thing. It's awesome. Another way that we can connect outside of just you watching or hearing things come out of my big dumb face. Is Trey Benson the key to the offensive flow? Yeah. Either he is, or they're going to be searching for a running back. And I think it's going to be fascinating because they play very difficult opponents down the stretch. They got Tampa Bay on Sunday, then they have the Rams, then they have Houston, then they have Atlanta, and then they have the Bengals, which, if the Cardinals don't put up a 40-burger against the Bengals, it should be fascinating. And then they have the Rams in Week 18. So it's not like they play some honeypots and it's like, oh, cool, Trey Benson's going to run roughshod when he's healthy. And then, that's not a clear indicator of what happens next season. But you would assume, let me take that back. There's strong evidence from what we've seen to think that James Conner may not be his full self again. We don't know, obviously. I'm assuming that he'll be an Arizona Cardinal next year if he doesn't, retire. I think an injury early on in the season doesn't deter him from being a part of the organization next year. But Trey Benson was drafted for him to take over the show. And unfortunately, he played 10 minutes after James Conner got hurt, and then he got hurt. But I'd like him to play on Sunday, you'd hope. And then you can kind of see what it's going to be like. It's at least there's going to be some sort of semblance, or there won't be. I think what Trey Benson brings is the ability to catch a ball to the backfield. He's got more giddy up than Bam Knight. Michael Carter's, probably faster, but that's what Michael Carter's calling card is. He's a pretty good pass protection guy. They missed Amari DiMercato last week for sure in pass pro. But I feel like when you're looking at and diagnosing what next season's offense could look like and what pieces should be there as integral parts, Marv, Michael Wilson, I think, is shown at this point. Trey McBride, Tip Ryman will be back. Obviously, he's severely missed at this point for different things. But you got to see what the run game is going to look like. You just got to see. So if Trey Benson comes in these last 5 weeks or last 6 weeks and he balls out, or at least shows this is a guy who can take the brunt of a run game, and they start to score more points, and the offense looks better, and Jacoby Brissett only has to throw the ball 30 times a game or 35 times a game instead of 55, and the sack numbers go down because they're running the ball more, and, the offense is in more synchronicity. It's like, okay, well, then you have to re-engage the conversation on, is Drew Petzing the offensive coordinator for this team for next year? Everything has changed from when this season started, obviously, but everything has changed in the sense that Kyler Murray got hurt, and even though the Cardinals are still losing, the offense looks better. Sorry if you don't believe it. I was a Kyler Murray guy until that Indy game. And then I'm like, oh. Just makes you question things. It's like having the same thought process going into the season as you do now. I implore people just to look at your surroundings and see that things are different. We're living in a different world now. You got to think about things differently. You can't hold on to what ifs when the what ifs are already a no. And with Jacoby Brissett, Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, the last couple weeks, it's undeniable what's going on here. Imagine if they could run the ball for more than 55 yards on 20 carries. So when the question is, Trey Benson is he the skeleton key? I mean, is he the guy that can kind of open up the balance of this offense? Well, yeah. I'm immediately giving him all the carries. That's what I said earlier in the season. Then he got hurt, but like it wasn't like he was getting 30 touches a game and then he wore down. Like he didn't have a chance to even start that. So when you look at this team and you look at what you need to diagnose for the rest of the year, the run game is probably most important. You've seen enough with Trey. You've seen enough, you'd think, with Marv. He's going to, when he comes back, hopefully he'll be healthy this week. It's still TBD, still too early in the week. But you know what you got. Michael Wilson has shown. He'll probably do it again this week. I mean, Matthew Stafford threw all over Tampa Bay. I'm not saying that Jacoby Brissett's Matthew Stafford. I'm not saying the offensive line is as good as the Rams, okay? But they threw all over Tampa Bay. So Trey Benson is like, that's the magnifying glass. That's the spotlight. It's like, do you have to draft another back to go 1-2 with him? Or can he be that guy? And James Conner comes back healthy-ish. He could finally step into that RB2 role that I think he's going to be so great at for at least a couple years to come. So that's it. And at this point, it's great that they're playing difficult opponents. It's great. So you can really know. And I know it's kind of under the smoke screen of like, well, the season's almost over. So, or not the season, the playoff contention's over. So it's like, well, is the game plan going to be the same? Are they going to take more risks? Is it going to be different because they don't have anything to quote unquote play for in the win-loss column? No, that's not how this team operates. So when you look at Tampa Bay, tough opponent, you look at Houston, the toughest defensive opponent. You look at Atlanta, who's been frisky this year. Well, hold on. Sorry. They play the Rams next week. Sorry. So Bucks, then Rams at home, then Texans, then Falcons. Like the Rams have everything to play for, and they probably will in week 18 to get the number 1 seed. So you're going to go through that gauntlet like we knew was going to happen when the year started. This is the toughest and most difficult part of the season. So you're going to know. You're going to see if Trey Benson is 11 for 33, 4 games in a row, maybe you have a different conversation, regardless of how strong or weak the offensive line is. But this is kind of tangentially a Drew Petzing segment. It's like, I understand the vitriol. I understand the pushback on having him call one more play this season, let alone coming into 2026. I get it all. Just like Nick Rallis gets a pass for this year, which I'll explain in the next segment, Drew Petzing's life has been reborn when Kyler Murray got hurt. It has. This is why I said earlier in the segment, you can't think about this team now exactly how you thought about this team leading up to the season and through the first, few games of the season. It's a different world, different planet. You could be divorcing a quarterback who's been here 7 years. It's a different thing. So with that, it's like, okay, so yes, the offense hasn't looked great for chunks of games with Jacoby Brissett also. They only scored 7 points. They had the pick six, and then I think they only scored 7 points going into the fourth quarter against Jacksonville. It was a smash mouth game, man. Like this, with Jacoby Brissett, regardless of down and distance, the Cardinals have a chance to convert. Anything third and long wasn't their strong suit with Kyler Murray. Okay. So none of this is perfect. All of this is gross and yucky if we're going to harness our 3-year-old selves. So you've got to grade all this on a curve. And that's not me giving Jacoby Brissett a pass. That's not me casting shade at Kyler Murray whatsoever. That's just the situation that we're experiencing with this team. You're grading everything on a curve. But with that, on the back end, the curve will be removed once the season ends, and the removal of the curve will be the catalyst of that will be us determining who's going to be the dudes moving forward for this team, primarily the offense. So is Trey Benson the key to figuring out what the hell this is, especially who's going to be calling the plays for the Cardinals next season? Yeah, Trey Benson's that guy that's going to give us some sort of determination on how good of an offensive coordinator Drew Petzing is when his offense actually has verticality and a run game, regardless of how weak the offensive line has been. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. Here's the thing. I'm sorry, but Nick Rallis gets a pass this year. I'll discuss that. Just chill for a second, okay? Let's not freak out. We're in this together. We'll talk about it next.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it, because it also helps you correct your form in real time, and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Okay, here's the thing, guys and gals, everydayers. If this is your first listen to Locked on Cardinals, thank you. Why don't you go to the YouTube channel, search Locked on Arizona Cardinals, and hit that subscribe button, man. You should. Tomorrow, we're doing our squad show, and I believe it's going to be at 6:45 Arizona time. And I'll be doing crossover Thursday with James Yarcho from Locked on Bucks on Thursday, Thanksgiving edition. It's difficult when the defense this season, especially in the fourth quarter, has fallen short to kind of give a pass to anybody. I understand that. And I understand when there hasn't been much pressure called so far this year, when the Cardinals let Carolina back in the game, Tennessee back in the game, they got blown out by Seattle and the 49ers, even though there were a couple defensive touchdowns scored by Seattle in that game. I understand the body of work doesn't look great. I also understand that side has been riddled with injuries all year. So in this situation, the Cardinals gave up 19 points per game during their first 5 games, and they were 2-3. They gave up that game-winning drive in Indy, where Jonathan Taylor just marched. Green Bay kind of had their way with them at times, even though that was a tightly contested matchup. This is the tough part, because I do think that Nick Rallis just gets a pass. I think he gets a pass. Even though the body of work hasn't been great, Garrett Williams missed a lot of time. Will Johnson has missed time. Walter Nolan missed the first several games. Max Melton has missed time. Taylor Demerson has missed time. Mac Wilson has been out the last couple games. He hasn't had a full deck outside of week 2 and then week 10 against Dallas. So, again, while everybody's to blame for this season, and while injuries should never be an excuse that production isn't there, even though a lot of times it is the root cause, I think Nick Rallis has shown over the first 3 years of his experience as a defensive coordinator that he is well equipped for the role. With that said, I believe his contract is up as well. So what does that mean? Do you move off of Nick Rallis? I feel like to start the season, that would have been something that somebody would have had to take a drug test for if that question happened, or if that question arose after their hot start. And then do you beg the question, well, they can't run the ball, they got to throw it all the time, so it's not conducive to helping a defense. And some crazy things needed to happen for them to lose the Tennessee game. Some crazy things needed to happen for them to even lose the Indy game. The Green Bay game, going forward on 4th and 1 and just lollygagging through the A-gap, thinking that Micah Parsons or Rashawn Gary was just going to let you waltz. And the defensive turnovers against Seattle the second time. And 2 weeks ago, the 98-yard kickoff return. It's like you're playing with one hand behind your back at times this year for multiple games. The offense sleepwalking through 3 quarters against Seattle and then holding that offense to 20 points, even though the Cardinals offense wasn't doing jack. So it's trickier than just yes or no. But I would lean to yes. Because I think this defense over the last 3 seasons far outweighs the drive, the preparation, and just the dog in them than anything that Vance Joseph did. Now, Vance Joseph also did a lot with not a lot for a good chunk of his tenure here with an offense that was all over the place. And while it seems, while it seems too kumbaya to even do this segment, I do think Nick Rallis deserves a pass. I think they should bring him back. And listen, you sign him to a 2-year deal, and you kind of see. Listen, I think that you could even coordinators are tough. It's difficult because, like, if he blows up and then he goes and gets a head coaching job, obviously the Cardinals are going to be removed from having to pay the full freight on what his contract was. But are he and Jonathan Gannon a package deal? That's a conversation for a different day. I just do think when this show really turned into the coordinators, I think Nick Rallis has shown more than enough over the last 3 seasons that he's well equipped to coach the defense. And when they're healthy, they were one of the better defenses in the league this year, just statistically speaking. And I think that in and of itself should merit whatever close to a pass a DC can get on a 3-8 team. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.